Imagine you make the conscious choice to follow a tyrannical and leader and dictator, but he promised you money, power, and protection. So you do it, and he implants something in your brain, only for him to die, and you end up looking like this. Yep, this is the story of Okuyasu's father, Saku Nijimura, and how a dumb decision led to him looking like a goblin for the rest of his life, and how not even Josuke could help him fix that. Because Crazy Diamond doesn't heal sicknesses. That is one of the only rules of Crazy Diamond. But let's start with his backstory. 12 years prior to Diamond is Unbreakable, the Nijimura family's matriarch died, leaving the father in depression. On top of that, Japan had been going through a tough time economically, and the family soon fell into poverty. The father constantly abused his sons as a result. 2 years later, the patriarch started to receive letters with money and jewels. Much later in his life, his older son, Kenicho, would realize his father had sold his soul and heart to Dio. Which, pausing right here, why the hell would you sell your soul and heart to the devil? Like, I can understand, y'all are poor, but who even marketed that? How did you find out how to even do that? He was in fucking Egypt. You're in Japan. When did you go to Egypt? But we find out how Dio found him, where it says Dio, who at the time was scouring the globe for a sand user capable of recreating reality. Dio, however, distrusted the Nijimura patriarch and implanted a seed of his undead body within him. When Jotaro defeated Dio, and when his younger son Okuyasu was only 7 years old, the seed burst, causing the father to slowly mutate into a monstrous form and later lose his ability to speak. This form would automatically heal any wounds inflicted. His sons subsequently searched for a means to end his father's life. Now on to Diamond is Unbreakable. The Nijimura patriarch is first introduced as a unintelligent creature. He is kept on a chain and searches frivolously through a box for his family's photograph. However, his son misinterprets the action as mere insanity and angrily beats his mutilated father for that reason. Only when Josuke examines the contents of the box and pieces, the photograph is finally put back together and the patriarch is finally pacified. Now, from what we know about their father, Okuyasu, the Nijimura brothers' father, even though he was definitely wrong for what he did to his family on how he would just beat them whenever he got stressed, even after taking the job from Dio, he definitely didn't. I don't think there's anything that could warrant that. He probably should have just died. You know what I mean? Because imagine you literally turn into a monster that can't take any damage, but you aren't even that strong. So you could get the shit beat out of you, and it's gonna hurt, but then you'll be restored to just brand new. Now, am I mad at his son for what he does to him? Not really. Cause hey, when you were a dad and conscious and aware, if you were a dick all the time to your sons and you beat them in times of need, you can't really blame the son for what he's doing. But his situation is still very saddening, you know what I mean? Like, just imagine being a monster and all you have, like, really in your memory is a photograph of your family, but that photograph was ripped up for so long and broken, all the way up until a mysterious 16-year-old boy finally fixes it for you. But all's is well that ends well, because even though he probably can't die, most likely is immortal and cannot ever take fatal damage, he has a stray cat at the end of his series. At the end of part 4, he has a stray cat. I have to give it to him. At least he has the cat. Because again, there's no telling how much his only remaining son will, or how much longer his only remaining son will last in Morio. We do know, this is true, we do know he lasts at least until like 2006, 2007. But when you get to the later years and the Spoke War Akashibe, we never see any part 4 characters you know, when Rohan's in his 40s and still living in Morio. Because, like, in the spinoff we got that Rohan was in his 40s and he lived in Morio, and it was, like, in the 2020s because he was talking about COVID and all that. We didn't see no one else. We saw no one else from that town. And, like, even when you think about, like, post Part 4, it's still sad, you know? You lost your other son. Your wife has been gone for 12 years if we even get to 1999, and then your other son, even though he takes care of you, he's a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, but you're just left to pick up the pieces of what I guess you can call a life, but you're essentially a dog. You can't speak. You basically lost everything that made you resemble a human, except the fact that you can walk and grab things. You know what I mean? Like, and even then, you're still described as like an animal to anyone who like sees you in public. And I feel like the worst part is like, Dio just distrusts this man, so he said, alright, your life's gonna be awful. If I'm gone, your life's gonna be awful. And then he just destroyed it. That's so crazy. He ain't do nothing. You know, in this situation, he ain't do nothing that we know that would cause him to even get a flesh bud implanted on his head. But Dio just didn't trust him. I don't know. I really do find it crazy. But if y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace.